Hi guys, I'm Richard Winston, the regulator guy. Today I've got two updates for you. I've sent off two pieces of documentation to Ofgem today. I'm calling for everybody that wants to get involved to please read them both, have a look at what I've said, and follow the instructions to email those documents to Ofgem yourself if you agree with me. And if you don't, please do still get involved. Read the documents, email Ofgem and tell them your thoughts and opinions. This is the way that we take control of our regulatory bodies, by getting involved in the consultation processes or any other open letters and things like that. So I'll talk to you first about their working paper. There is a deadline on this for midnight on tomorrow, Friday the 20th of September. So please get your response in as quickly as possible. And this is a working paper on smart metering net cost change allowance. So a lot of words in a row. Effectively, it's an additional allowance on the price cap that has been there since the price cap's inception in 2019. It adds extra costs for the rollout of smart meters. Those costs get added to our bills. There's about 25 different subcomponents in it. It's quite a difficult thing to calculate. Over the next year, Ofgem are going to review the operational cost allowance, and they're going to move some of the costs that they can predict quite accurately away from the smart metering net cost change allowance and into the operational cost allowance to try and simplify it. So what they're looking to do with this is also review that second allowance, the smart metering allowance, alongside the operational cost allowance, so that as they move the cost from one to the other, they're actually reducing the smart metering cost allowance. And they want to simplify it as well. They presented three options. Their third option is still the most complex. Rather than 25 subcomponents, I believe it has 17. The simplest option has just 4 subcomponents. And I've obviously voted, or in my opinion, they should be going for that simple one. The reason for that is that the option one, the 4 subcomponents, are the main 4 costs when it comes to rolling out smart meters, which includes obviously the actual meter itself. So the main costs are still being calculated and suppliers are still getting their money for that, which is fair, I guess. And all of those other minor costs, the other 13 that they wanted to include, in my opinion, they can be covered by the headroom allowance. That's what it's there for. It's there to pick up other costs that they haven't accounted for. And we may as well use it. It's there, it exists, they haven't gotten rid of it. So, bring down our costs on one of the allowances and allow the rest of the minor costs that haven't been attributed to be absorbed by the headroom allowance. It's there for that purpose. So that's what I've asked for. As I said, give my response a read. It's only one A4 page. This isn't a consultation. They haven't asked us any questions. They've just put forward a working paper and said, this is what we're planning on doing. We're going to do a consultation on this. These are our thoughts. Give us your thoughts. So yeah, please do give that a read. The second one, and arguably slightly more important, is I've sent an open letter to Dan Norton, the Deputy Director of Ofgem in control of price protection. And it's on behalf of the 350,000 people that have signed my initial petition, the first one I did, where we're calling for EBIT allowance and headroom allowance to be reviewed and reduced or removed effectively. And I've highlighted to him that we've been patient for 2 years waiting for anything to happen. During that 2-year time, we've been disappointed by the fact that Ofgem saw 350,000 people wanted profit to be reduced. They opened a consultation saying they think profit should be reduced. And then by the end of it, they decided to increase profits for energy suppliers. I think that's wrong. This is not what I'm not trying to reopen that. They've done it now, and then there's nothing we can do about that right now. But I did highlight in my letter that that was very disappointing for us and really worrying that they thought that that was an okay approach to take. But in my letter, I have said that they didn't acknowledge the fact that we want headroom allowance to be removed. Instead, they put it onto a long-term work stream and said they'll look at it in the future. That was 2 years ago. And their medium-term work streams all end in winter 2024. So I've sent this letter to him to say, hey, you said in the long term you'd look at headroom allowance. It's on a document that you published in April 2023. That headroom allowance will be reviewed in the long term. That long-term time period starts at the beginning of 2025. So when are you scheduling a review? Let's have a look at that. We've got 350,000 people who signed a petition asking for this. We've waited patiently for 2 years. We've got involved with other consultations. Please finally hear us and review headroom allowance. It should be removed. It's an extra cost that doesn't really attribute to anything. That's my personal opinion. In this letter, though, I also addressed the British Gas investigation on them breaching prepayment meter rules. So, as a reminder, at the beginning of last year, there was a big media frenzy about British Gas hiring a company to illegally force fit prepayment meters in the homes of vulnerable people. Force fitting prepayment meters is legal, and obviously British Gas didn't tell them to break the law, but they are responsible for the companies they hire, and their company did break the law. They force fitting prepayment meters into the homes of people that are considered vulnerable. That's people with disabilities, the elderly, and homes of people that have young children. I think it's under 2. They're all considered vulnerable households, and you can't force fit a prepayment meter there. It's against the rules. And they were caught doing it last year. I'm sure you'll all remember that led to a ban for almost a year on force-fitting prepayment meters at all across the board. And then that increased the amount of debt in the energy industry, and Ofgem decided that we as consumers should pay for that debt. So we're now paying for the ban that was put in place to stop suppliers from breaking the law, which I think is ridiculous. And as part of this process, Ofgem were obviously investigating British Gas first because they were caught doing it. And then they were going to move on to other suppliers. It has been, I believe, 20 months since that investigation began, and there's no conclusion. They haven't finished it. They found time to calculate how much money we now owe the energy suppliers and to put that on our bills. We're now paying for that ban already. They found time to investigate OVO. They started that investigation 6 months after the British Gas one, and they've completed it already. They found time to do a lot over the last 20 months, but they have not finished their investigation into British Gas or penalised them, punished them for breaking the rules. So the only ones that are being punished at the moment for energy suppliers illegally force-fitting prepayment meters into the homes of vulnerable consumers is everyone else, all of us consumers. We've got higher bills to cover the cost of all that illegal activity and to make sure energy suppliers aren't negatively financially impacted until the investigations are done, where they might receive a fine. But the investigations aren't done. We're coming up to 2 years now, and I just think that's ludicrous. So I've written this letter. There's a link in, if you're on the petition, it was at the top of the update I've posted to you. If not, it should be below the page as a blog. Below this video on my webpage as a blog. Feel free to have a look at it. There's details on there on who to email. It's Dan Norton, and it's the Price Protection Policy team. Feel free to copy and paste it, add your own words, do whatever you want. But I do think these are 2 considerations that we deserve answers to. We've been waiting 2 years for anything to happen now on both the Headroom allowance, over 2 years on that, and almost 2 years on the British Gas investigation. And Ofgem have not given us answers. They're kind of sweeping it under the rug and moving on and going, well, we've got a new government now, so we've got new priorities. No. We agreed to your timetables because we assumed in good faith that you would honour them. Now's the time to honour your timetables. Give us a Headroom allowance review with the view of removing it because it's not necessary, where you go down to such minute detail on all of the other allowances, and finish your investigation into British Gas. And I really do hope that the suppliers that broke the laws have greater financial penalties than the customers that are currently paying for them breaking the laws. Which is absolutely ridiculous. I even need to request that, but here we are. So yes, please get involved. Send them off. Don't forget to CC me, richard@theregulatorguide.co.uk. That's just so I can see how many people have emailed Ofgem, so that when I have conversations with them, I can say I'm aware that 300 people have emailed you about this, 5,000 people have emailed you about that. What are you doing about it? Appreciate your support. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'll be back next week. Cheers.